All right. So we're here being quarantined. For those of you watching this years from now, today is day one of the coronavirus quarantine. And we thought that it could be a nice thing if you're all sitting at home and you have a piano or keyboard to give you a tutorial of how to play our new song, The Weather. So this song is in the key of D flat, C sharp, depending on how you like to think about it. This song is simpler than almost any of our other songs because it uses only diatonic chords. And what diatonic chords means is that like all of the chords are contain notes that are within the major scale of the key that we're in. So like the 1 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord, the 6 minor chord, those are all diatonic chords. They all live in these notes. That's very typical of a lot of pop songs and a lot of very classic sort of simple folky songs as well. Whereas a lot of Lawrence songs, we pride ourselves on using tons of really cool non-diatonic chords, you know. Like all of those kind of cool, weird, jazzy notes, so to speak, are non-diatonic notes that give the sort of gospel soul sound its flair. But for The Weather, we keep it very diatonic. If you were playing in the key of C, by that it would mean that you would play the entire song The Weather only using the white notes. Being that we're in C sharp, that isn't the case, but that kind of gives you the idea of what I mean. So, the way that I would play this song on piano is that I would actually keep D flats across every single chord. Because in the song, there are these drones on this organ and on actually John Bellion's voice going that are just throughout the whole song. So I would play like, I won't talk about the weather. That's a D flat chord. Not with you, we're not together. So this is basically just a F sharp chord, but I'm going to play it like this kind of, where I'm adding in like this A flat. I'm basically keeping this everywhere because the song starts with this kind of vibe. So, we're not together. It's even when the sky is gray, I'm feeling blue. So even on the A flat chord, which would normally be that, I'm throwing this in. This is very typical of like these sort of like dramatic, it's always going to make things sound a little more like dramatic and warm and emotional to keep these as a constant every chord. Though the winds are always changing, back to the 4 chord, rearranging, a part of me will always be in love with you. So right there we're going to go to on the part of me, it's back to the D flat chord, which is our home chord, our 1 chord, but it's over the F, which is the 3. Me will always be in love with you. So a big cool thing about like that I haven't talked about, I don't think that much in our other tutorials, is like how different the bass note, how different a chord can feel depending on the bass note. So we've got our home chord, our D flat chord, feels one way over the D flat. That's where it's going to feel the most final and at home. But if we put that same chord over its 3, the F, it feels like a less final place. It feels almost like a passing chord to something else. And so we use that a lot here. The winds are always changing, and the clouds are rearranging. And then back to that, a part of me will always be in love with you. If we were to go da 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 da, part of me will always be in love with you. It'd feel very like, it'd be like, all right, like, because the point is, ultimately, from a songwriting perspective, what I'm doing there, or what we're doing there, is trying to save the arrival back to this D flat chord over the D flat as a true home base that you don't actually get to feel as the listener until the end of until the end of the verse. So we're not going to go to it staying there in this kind of like, we're not home yet. A part of me will always be in love with you. And then between verses, I'm kind of doing this thing where it's like just playing the, like you'll hear that between me will always be in love with you. There's a fire in LA, and since you moved there back in May, I wonder, should I call? That's the 1/3. Should I call to see if you're alright? Same thing, 5 with the 1 in it. Yeah, there's a million miles away, but I still think if you did to do a better. And then passing chord. So that's kind of a same thing. It's the 5 chord, but over the 3 of the 5. So over the 7, aka the C. Sorry for all the numbers. So and that leads us really nicely to I won't talk. So this is 6 minor, B flat minor. Talk about the weather. So now that's just a classic F sharp chord. I won't talk. And now we do this same 1/3 about the weather. So now I guess is a good moment. I'm kind of using this tutorial as a chance to just talk about all these cool random little things because the song is so simple. I don't really feel like I need to like go through the whole song. The different ways that you can express a 5 chord. So like a 5 chord, in this case A flat, is like the chord that's going to most lead you home. And this is a, if you don't know what I mean by that, that's a whole other lesson. But generally speaking, your 5 chord, in this case A flat, is going to be the thing that most kind of leads you home back to your 1 chord, the D flat. And in that way, it's a very significant chord. There's a lot of different ways you can express the 5 chord. So like throughout the verses, we just do the full-on 5 chord, just the major. But sometimes we do a suspended chord first, which is going to be, which has a bit of a different feeling. That's like up, not quite, and now leading home. But then a whole other kind of chord is a 4/5. So in this case, that would be like the G flat or F sharp major chord over A flat. Sometimes this is called like a sus or jazz sus, not to be confused with a sus4 chord. The terminology is really confusing. But like this has this like really flowery, like other kind of a feeling that still has that 5 chord feeling. So in the bridge of this song, instead of doing the normal 5 chord, we go to the 4/5. Like, talk about the weather, rather than talk about the weather. That would feel very like, all right, like you're being really like bold with this finality. But this is more like about the weather. I won't talk, and that's pretty much the whole song. Sus chord to the 5. And when you're in this very diatonic mode where everything is like all of these major notes, you can afford to get really like mushy with the piano playing. And by that I mean like you can afford to throw in notes that are also diatonic that aren't in the chord. So the same way that we're throwing like the 5 note into the 4 chord, that just adds this nice flowery quality. In the same way that we're adding the 1 into the 5 chord, which also adds this nice like mushy flowery quality. You can do the same thing with like adding the 7 and the 5 into the 4 chord. It's like so like we have all these in the song background vocals doing that. I won't talk about the weather, talk, like all those kinds of things. Talk about talk. And then I think we have a crazy chord that goes like once the cat's out of the bag with this diatonic vibe, like everything is it's all very like mushy, and it all kind of feels good if you add the right notes. So anyway, that's the weather. we're really proud of it because it's a song that is really restrained and really, really simple from a musical perspective, but allows you to just really sink your teeth into some of those things that make classic songs so classic. If you listen to a lot of the best Beatles songs or Bob Dylan songs or James Taylor songs, these kinds of very basic chords are where they live, and they do a lot with a little.
Sick.
Wild Karsh spotted in the drum room.